All right, so since my last video, Bitcoin retraced a little bit and has now put in a higher high. The value area that I was looking at did change a little bit, so I have marked out what was previously the point of control. That is coming in at 97,350, and you can see as we update it, point of control shifts down a little bit. So that means that we have two levels that are basically competing for the highest volume. This 96,600 level and that one that I just mentioned. And if I zoom in, you can see that this is still coming up as the second highest volume node. So I think both of these levels are basically equally as important. I don't really care which one is the point of control. And what happened here is we found resistance on one, we came down, essentially found support on the other, and then we blasted through this area of high volume. So at this point, I would suspect we'll probably at least get a move on this range high. And I'm hoping that there is some kind of long opportunity. We do seem to be diverging a little bit as we put in a higher high, especially with this 30-minute money flow. I was looking at this thinking we may get a retracement, but as we go to some lower time frames, money flow is actually looking pretty good. Like it's starting to come back in pretty nicely on the 15. The 12-minute looks good. The 10-minute looks good. So, we are still seeing some local momentum divs. But I am still looking at this thinking we may potentially get a retracement from those divergences. And ideally, if we do, then I think it would be best to hold this area as support, this area of high volume. Or if we slip below it, then hopefully we bounce from this other one and reclaim the higher one, because we don't really want to be like finding this area as resistance ranging here again. That may make me think that we're going to start losing this area. So I want to plan for a long idea if we start retracing. And the value area high of this smaller range is coming in around the higher high volume node. So I like the confluence. Also, if you pull a fib from that low to that high, some 0.5 fib confluence. There is an anchored VWAP that I pulled from this low. It's currently around that area. We could also check the volume of this small range right here. And I guess the value area high that is coming in around that area. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm more focused on this high volume node, and there is already some good enough confluence around it. So if we get a retracement, I will be looking for confirmations, and I may enter along maybe with a local stop loss. Maybe my stop loss will go below a low like this. All right, so I just entered my first trade here. We did retrace to the first high volume node that I was talking about. I think we got some pretty good signs on this low. There were some divergences as we got a wick into there. And I didn't mention this previously, but after I recorded my last bit of this video, I found some extra confluence around that area. There was a lot of liquidity that we took out as we put in that low around 97,270. We did leave a bit of liquidity down there. I was looking for, possibly another sweep of that low, but we did take out some yellow liquidity there. And currently we are closer to this liquidity above us. There's some yellow above us. So, given the fact that we got some follow through following this low, we began a bit of an uptrend. We got above the value area high point of control of this sideways range. I looked to start a long position as we retraced. Now, this is not my first long that I took off of this idea. I took one trade yesterday and I took a loss. It was like a 0.5% loss. So I am hopefully looking to make it back. I did enter a 1% position. I do have a very loose invalidation on it. I don't have a stop loss set currently because I'm sitting here watching it. And ideally, I'm looking for more confirmations to maybe add to this trade and move my invalidation up. I do like this retest of the point of control, but there wasn't good enough confirmations for me to have a tight stop there. So this is currently my position. I may look to modify it, but if we break out of this current high and continue to my target, which I established in my last video as this high now, then this can still be a pretty decent trade. And of course, if we continue past that target, it could be a great trade. And some things I want to point out on Market Cipher. We are seeing green dots start printing. This 2-hour trigger wave looks pretty nice. One thing I liked additionally about that low is that we had basically my modified basic strat set up here. So initially we got divergences on the low, divergences there with this very thick anchor wave forming actually prior to us putting the low in. So we diverged as we put in the low. We then got a significant move to the upside. We began breaking structure. It was more of like wicks, but we put in a higher high. And after that, we came down for another trigger wave, seeing a continuation of direction with momentum. and a continuation of the money flow direction. It began trending to the upside. So nice, trigger wave to anchor wave setup here, and following that, we put in another higher high, broke above important resistance. Now we're starting to backtest it. So, yeah, all that together is what made me want to start building along here. I also want to point out how there is definitely still room for the money flow to continue trending to the upside. It still has not even crossed the 0 line on the 15-minute. It is just starting to cross on the 12. On the 10, it already got up there. And let's start looking at the lower time frames. So far we're kind of struggling a little bit. We're kind of flatlining, but we're still kind of staying in the green, getting little dips into the red. I would like to see this money flow ultimately, break to the upside as the 15-minute starts to cross over. So yeah, I'll be watching market cipher. I'll be watching price action. Maybe I end up bailing out of this trade if I don't like how it's progressing, but so far we are holding the support area. All right, I just hit my first TP on this trade. I was up about a 3-1. So I guess I based my original stop loss off about that risk reward. I didn't even place a stop loss for this one because, as I said, I was here watching it. And, I did not add to this trade on this retrace. I was not going to bail out until we started losing some key support. I knew we had the VWAP snap here, this trend line, which was being held. And if you pulled an anchored VWAP from this low, we were also retesting that. So yeah, I did not bail out on that retrace there. I also didn't add to it, but yeah, we have since continued to the upside a bit. We're getting pretty close to this target. I closed 1/3 of the trade and I locked in 1%, so I locked in what I risked. And I think I may set one more TP, maybe to close out whatever I would need to close out to have half my remaining position left. I'll probably set that somewhere above this high, like in between this high and the value area high, because I'm going to be going to bed here soon. I'm not going to be watching this, and I am working tomorrow, so I'm not going to be trading tomorrow either. So I may also try and figure out where I want to put my next TP. I would probably be looking somewhere around this wick high, probably prior to us retesting this channel, which, I don't even know if this is the best way to pull a channel, so I don't really want to base it too much on a channel retest there, but, somewhere around this high, I think makes sense. I probably would want to check a golden pocket pull from the range high down to this low, and the golden pocket's coming in a little bit before that, so, maybe I'd want to put my TP somewhere around that golden pocket. And then we'll see what happens with this trade. I currently have my stop loss at entry, so I have locked in 1%. It could potentially become a runner, or it might just be, a nice little scalp trade that I took today. So that's it for now. I'll probably check in with another update tomorrow. All right, I just got home from work, and I hit a few more TPs on this trade. So I, as I said, had one placed here, and I also had one placed here. This TP brought my total position down to about half of what it was, a little bit more than half. And this was a kind of smaller TP that was about 15% of my original position. So I have about 40% of my original position left. That's pretty much where I'm at. I have just under 3% locked in, which is not too shabby. My first two TPs were about a 3-1 and a 4.4-1. And this last one was more than that, and I have another 3% remaining in unrealized, so that's the state of my position. I already locked in 3%. That's a good winner, and this is a inverse perpetual trade, so I'm making Bitcoin on this trade. That's what I like to do when I'm longing in a bull market. I prefer to long with the inverse pairs. And if you follow my Twitter, you would have already known this. I posted a few Twitter updates here, so yeah, that was me hitting my second target. It was really my first target, but I front ran my original target with my first TP. We finally hit my target at that point, and I posted a picture of me hitting my second TP. Nice little celebration. And here I went over my plans of what I want to do next. So if we retrace and confirmations are presented, I'll add to the trade somewhere in this box. And I marked out this area between the 0.5 fib and the 786 fib. Look for a retest of this range high that we just broke out of. So yeah, I'm essentially looking at this as a sideways range. We just broke the range bullishly. we retest the top of the range and there's some lower time frame confirmations, I have no problem adding to this trade. And if we do not retrace, if we continue pumping, I have another TP set at the 786. And after that, I think I'm going to be targeting all-time high. I don't think there's much in between the 786 and the all-time high. I will do a bit more investigating to make sure of that, but yeah, I mean, for right now, things are looking good for an all-time high target. I think we may start working our way up there, considering how bullish of a break this was. But it is always a good thing to question yourself and do some analysis and see if anything is going against your ideas. So let's take a look at Market Cypher real quick before I get out of here. Does it still look like all-time high is a go for a target? And I mean, the 2-day and the 3-day look bullish as heck. The weekly, the VWAP is already starting to turn back to the upside. So yeah, we did get one more weekly update since the last time I looked at this. We may see this VWAP crossover either before next Sunday or as the next weekly candle prints. We may see that jump, and we might get a green dot above the 60 line. The daily does not look too bad. You know, the VWAP started coming down a little bit. We got another push to the upside. Momentum, is still moving to the upside. You can still see that thick white part of the momentum wave. That tells me that it still has room to grow before it starts clipping off on itself, which that was a horrible drawing, but you get the idea. I think the daily momentum wave still has more upside. And the 12-hour, you can kind of see the same thing or a similar thing that we saw with the daily VWAP. It started coming down, but then got another push to the upside. That's pretty much what happened with the weekly momentum wave. Started to close off on itself, and was starting to look like we may print a red dot, but it, got another push to the upside. The light gray or the white part of the momentum wave began expanding again, and we're getting pretty close to the 60 line. So yeah, I mean, if this continues pushing to the upside, I think that is a bullish thing as well. The 8-hour momentum got above the 60 line. Money flow still in the red here, but it is trending to the upside. We could get an 8-hour money flow cross here. The 6-hour money flow already crossed, is starting to get some follow through. Momentum, same deal above the 60 line. 4-hour money flow looks bullish. It's continuing to grow. I like how as we go down in time frames, we're still seeing that money flow grow. That is a good sign. We're still seeing momentum above the 60 line. Even if it looks like we may get some temporary red dots, I think this still has more steam. So I will continue watching this trade. I may even make updates on it, especially if I add to the trade. I will probably make a update on that, maybe a separate video. But for right now, I think that's it. At this point, it's a successful trade. And from the way things look right now, it definitely has potential to continue running and to turn into a great trade. So I think that's it for this video. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All the YouTube stuff really helps to support my channel, and I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video.